How do you cope with the constant barrage of difficulties that can be thrown at you?
Well, I suppose there is the saying, there's the one thing that's consistent is change. Okay. So yeah. I don't think that necessarily you should allow yourself to be emotionally drained. Yeah. You know, I think emotions used in the right ways to drive a business, but you're always going to have curveballs. There's always going to be change.
Deal with it, right?
You've got to deal with it. You've got to deal with it. And I think if you've got a good business and you've got a good vehicle, that also makes you a lot more resilient to change than maybe a business that wouldn't be so robust. So I don't know how much it is to do with the individual, but also the strength of the vehicle that you're in.
Hi everybody, and welcome to FEBE Founder Stories. Simon, it's brilliant to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for being in our studio. Now, you're a pretty clever guy, and it's a clever business you're doing because this is proper tech, isn't it? I think it's a data and cloud consultancy. Is
Correct,
that right?
Yeah.
Now, before we go into that, I've got to start by saying we are so proud to have you guys in the Growth 100. So, you know, to have you part of the FEBE community is brilliant. So thank you for being part of it.
Yeah, thank you for allowing us to be part of it.
Yeah, this is a fascinating story because I think what's so interesting about this, you've gone from, and please forgive me using this word, but it's like a rookie founder, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody starts as a rookie founder. The business has matured, it's grown, 1,500 people that you now have as part of the team. You're in America, where you have 60 people?
Yeah, about 60 people now.
About 60 people around. Right. So you're a grown-up now, Simon, in the entrepreneurial world, which I think is really cool to explore, because I think the evolution from rookie founder to then being a co-founder and in a business that's very, is a very serious business now, is a really important journey and a really interesting journey. So before we get to, the kind of where you are now, where was the moment when yourself and Tim decided to start this business?
Well, so...
not this business, I mean, starting your journey together, because I think you started a business before this.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So Tim and I, business partners from 2000. So first met in 2000. We set up a small, at the time, recruitment business. It was specialised in business technology, and we had our little niche. That grew very rapidly, and fast forward to 2006, we had listed it on AIM, and we had about
How many years?
2006, end of 2000.
6 years, you've gone from startup to listing.
Yeah, and we great journey. I think we were talking earlier off camera, I'm not quite sure, of really good lessons from being listed on AIM. Probably not necessarily the journey we would go on. And I mean, there was quite some expensive lessons there as well.
I bet.
One of the interesting things was we were, in 2007, we were 97% investment banking client base. 2008, made sure that, and the interesting thing is we were putting out our first ever profit warning.
Really?
And we'd won AIM Stock of the Year.
Oh, wow. so that's from there to a very different...
but it was a good, maybe it wasn't a good lesson at the time, but it was a good lesson looking back. We diversified the business. We realised the importance of having a diverse client base in different industry sectors and the resilience that brought, and we built it back up again and grew out different sectors, oil and gas, pharma, telecoms, things like that. So it was a good lesson, and then Tim and I thought it was probably we had another one in us. And
well, you're still young, of course you would, Simon.
Yes, well that's right. Yes, thank you. I'm glad that the lighting must be very good in there. And I think the thing that really attracted us to the next venture.
Well, hold on, sorry. Just before we go on to the next venture, I've just got to ask. You mentioned the word resilience there.
Yeah.
And I think the persona of a founder is so many curveballs that are thrown at a founder, entrepreneur, anybody running a business. It's so many difficult things to deal with. Was it eventually a case of you've had so many difficult curveballs thrown at you that you become hardened to it, used to it, you just become much better at dealing with it? Is every single one still emotionally and physically draining? How do you cope with the constant barrage of difficulties that can be thrown at you?
Well, I suppose there is the saying, there's the one thing that's consistent is change. So I don't think that necessarily you should allow yourself to be emotionally drained.
Yep.
You know, I think emotions used in the right ways to drive a business, but you're always going to have curveballs. There's always going to be change.
Deal with it, right?
You've got to deal with it. You've got to deal with it. And I think if you've got a good business and you've got a good vehicle, that also makes you a lot more resilient to change than maybe a business that wouldn't be so robust. So I don't know how much it is to do with the individual, but also the strength of the vehicle that you're in.
Well, that's interesting because you said you can't allow yourself to be emotionally drained by it. So is that a case of you just have to learn to dust yourself down quickly? Is it something you have to surround yourself with people that have been on a similar journey? Do you read a book? How is it that you make the conscious decision to stop something draining you? Because you're so right, you need the energy to keep on moving forward.
So I think a lot of it, well, it's not personal.
Okay.
Right. So it well, I don't know, maybe I've received personal attacks, but it never feels personal.
Yeah.
So it's just going to happen. I mean, I'm very lucky in terms of that. Tim and I have been business partners for the last 22 years. So that's a good partnership.
Good mates.
Very good mates. We play to our strengths. We're abundantly aware of our weaknesses.
Yeah. Is that because you both make each other abundantly aware?
yeah, that's it. Yeah, we both make each other very, very clear where our weaknesses are.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, staying true to your business plan. And it's interesting with entrepreneurs because often you'll get a curveball and you watch people go into change mode, or they want to do something else, or there's an opportunity to grab hold of. And actually, I think often you're defined by as much as what you don't do as what you do. So actually, when those curveballs come, it's a test of your business model, and it's a test of your discipline to make sure that you have that tight arrowhead and you're on your business plan, and you cope with it within those parameters. You don't suddenly, on a pivot, change your business.
Yeah.
And I think actually I've seen a lot of people make mistakes on that
Because they drastically overreact to something that's thrown at them.
Yeah, that's right. Or maybe the business is going okay, so they think, oh, actually, I've just seen this other opportunity. And they don't understand the cost of losing focus and looking at that other opportunity. It might intuitively feel correct, but actually, that's a lot of energy. That's a lot of time away from the plan that you originally sat down and went, this is such a good business plan. This answers this problem.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're switching.
Yeah.
Me personally, speaking for myself, some of the best times in business, or where I've felt at my best, is when there's been a problem and you've worked it through.
Yeah.
You've come out of it probably with a better business as well.
Yeah. This is what I love about these interviews, because you learn things that kind of really change your way of thinking about things. Energy, your emotional state, and therefore your energy that you can put into stuff is so important, because for me that's my main currency. The energy that I've got to. So don't let things chip at it. I think that's such a great way to think of it. So you've got a duty to yourself to make sure that you don't allow things to drain it away.
Yeah, and the people that have taken
who are with you, your team
they've taken
you.
a risk and they've joined this startup, and you can't let them down, and that's your role and responsibility.
Yeah. So before we move on to Kubrick, then, so just to put that to bed, the listing, it was a big experience. It's
really good experience
for many people. It's probably the thing they'll never forget in terms of what you had to go through. But in terms of a chapter, glad you moved on from that, I guess. Yeah,
glad I did it. There was a lot of fun, interesting dynamics of how it goes. I mean, we were when we did it, we were relatively illiquid stock, and we were, very market sensitive to the moves of the market. So, but yes, it was great. We learned a lot of things, a lot of discipline.
So take us to Kubrick Group then.
Yeah.
So something that I was reading about, which I thought was really interesting, because it's something that's spoken a lot about, is this fourth industrial revolution.
Yes.
Whether it's here, whether it's coming, is it here? Is it coming? I mean, what's the?
I mean, I think we're right on the foothills.
Really?
I think I think a lot of our clients would say we're here.
In terms of like the growth then, and just the journey of what that has been like, you've now just started to get people on the ground, not just people, you've got a team of 60 in the US. What is it like starting to create an international footprint with your business? What's that experience been like? And because it's something so many businesses want to do, what's it like when you're actually achieving that? And what is that like as a challenge?
It's a really interesting challenge.
Yeah.
Because you've got to be very careful in terms of thinking what works in one place will just be simply work in the other, and it's actually sometimes can be quite nuanced. But those small nuances can often make the difference between success or failure. So it was great with our previous business. As I said, we had 7 global offices, but one of the things we realised was there were a few golden rules that we had. One is the team is everything, and and when I say the team, I mean the leaders. So you're not always going to be there. So therefore, your leadership selection of what that the New York office or Singapore, that is one of the most critical decisions that you make. So you've got to make sure that you have a scoring framework and you know the type of individual that you want to do that. Secondly, it's actually
easier said than done.
Much easier said than done.
Yeah.
And in fact, I have witnessed, a lot of companies have really stalled their global expansion
Because of that.
Really? Yeah, because of that. Because you choose the wrong leader. I mean, in our last business, we had mistakes in terms of who we picked, and that definitely delayed us.
So this is brilliant. This is really good insight, because this is a big hindrance to so many businesses. Is there anything you can share with anybody watching this right now, from the fact that you've said you've made mistakes in your past, how you've done it? What is the 1 or 2 or 3 things that you need to look out for, do, or think about to make sure that you get that right person in the place?
So, well, first I'd start with the business. So, is the product that you're going out with, and this is probably more relevant to business services, is the product that you're going out with and the services you're going out with, is that relevant to the client base that you're selling to? Who is that client base that you're selling to? And what are your no-go points? What are your milestones where you go, actually, that's worked, so we go on to the next stage, that's worked. Or, what are those? And they're clearly defined. So you know the direction, and you know the points in time where you either have to keep on the same track or change your mind.
Yeah.
Once you have that, you then, I would always use certain individuals, culture carriers, the people in your business that amplify the business.
Nice way to put it, amplify, yeah.
Yeah, and they're the ones that you probably, they might not lead the next business, but, we put together a bit of an A team that was kind of the launch team. So they know the culture, they know what's important, they amplify everything about that.
Yeah.
And they go in and they do the setup.
Yeah.
Then once you've got that, then, what is the scoring criteria of that next leader? What's important? And it might be homegrown. It's an amazing opportunity growing your own leaders and bringing them through. You might need someone that is immersed in the local culture. I know where I've had other offices, certainly growing out APAC, sometimes you really did need a local leader that understood the local culture, understood how sales cycles worked with clients and things like that. But what is that scoring criteria? And then what support do they need from you to ensure their success? So I think there's also then reflects back on you. What do you have to give them to make sure they're going to be successful?
Yeah, that sounds then, from what you're saying, there are a lot of moving parts that go into therefore getting that decision wrong. When you do get it wrong, what has usually caused that to have happened?
I think normally you have you've made the wrong hire.
Yeah.
We're very much a people business.
Yeah.
And then second to that, you might not have understood the nuance of the local market, right, and what the product is and what the demand is.
And on the subject of people, when you started this business and I'd said to you, Simon, you're going to have 1,500 people in the team, would you have gone, yeah, of course I am? Or does that take you back that you go, blimey, we've got quite a few people. How did that happen?
I think we knew. I think what we did know is we knew that the business problem that we were trying to solve was a significant problem for everyone. I think accelerating out of COVID, that suddenly we realised that was a real reality.
Yeah.
And I think when we look at our addressable market now and kind of what we can do, then our confidence is very high in terms of the requirements of organisations and also people wanting to go into this industry and actually have their career there. So yes, probably right at the beginning in some of the dark days of year one, although it was there on the plan.
Yeah.
And then the acceleration out of COVID kind of made us a lot more confident.
When we posted, congratulating and being super excited about the fact you're in the Growth 100, I couldn't believe the engagement you got on LinkedIn. So you've got a great community there. But looking down, just, when you do looking at people that like the post, you've clearly got some very, very clever people in your organisation. Is attracting great people to Kubrick something that you've always found quite easy? Is it? I mean, what's that journey been?
I mean, it's not easy. Because the requirement that we have on individuals to join us is quite significant. Yeah. They need to be super bright. They need to be passionate about a career that lots of people don't know about.
Yeah.
And they need to have really good communication skills. And they need to be quite aligned with they need to have some business savvy about them, because they're going into organisations, and we say to them, the projects that you're doing, there is a real business reason why you're doing it.
Yeah.
So don't get too involved in the tech.
It's highly commercial.
That's right. You've got to be asking why.
That's a skill.
And we're it's an average age of 26, so we're asking a lot of these people.
Wow.
In the last 12 months.
So that's not millennials. That's the Gen. Is that Gen Z?
Well, it's people at the beginning of their career. So
okay.
So normally people enter us early careers. I mean, we have a lot of people that are more experienced are going to our element called Kubrick Advanced. So they're career pivoters.
Yeah.
But in the last year, we had, the last 12 months, we had 40,000 people apply to us.
40,000?
Yeah, we had a lot of people apply to us.
Wow, I bet you've had to, I'm sure that therefore you've had to slickify majorly the recruitment process to deal with that number of people coming through.
Yeah, we have. I think we can still do more.
Right.
If you take data is one of these industries that not only is morally and ethically the right thing to do to have a diverse data workforce, but you have to make it work efficiently. You can't have a homogenous data team. If you have a data team, say at a large retailer, and they need to be asking questions of the data that will reflect their large customer base, you need to have a diverse set of individuals with diverse thought to be able to make that as effective as possible. So not only, we need 40,000 people, because we've got to ensure diversity.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a sad stat of our industry is 12% of data engineers are non-binary or identify as female, and we've now driven that to 38%.
Really?
Yeah. So, but that's it's something the industry has to overcome.
Yeah. Wow. And just if we may move to your relationship with your co-founder.
Yes.
You guys have been in business a long time now.
Yes.
In terms of that co-founder dynamic, is that something that you, I'm guessing, have been extremely glad that you've had someone to share the journey with over the past few years? I mean, could you see yourself ever, going alone? What is that? What has it meant to you having a co-founder as part of this journey with you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm
not saying here we're going to do a coup and get rid of Tim, by the way. Tim's safe. I'm just more interested from your.
He might be really happy, actually. I think it's, he might be over the moon. He might be listening to this going, saying please. We have very, very clearly defined roles. And I think that's what's worked. And we never kind of cross into each other's swim lane.
Really?
Very, very, very clearly defined roles.
And is that because you're both alpha? So it's like, you have to be careful. I'm just saying, are you alpha? I don't even know. But I'm just saying, is that because you definitely, you want to make sure that you don't create potential for you to rug? Or is that just...
Well, I think I said it at the beginning, I think it's about playing to your strengths.
Okay.
And knowing your weaknesses.
Got it.
I mean, we did a minority private equity deal, so we changed the structure of the business. And Tim is phenomenal at strategizing where the future of the business goes.
Yep.
And he plays to the traditional CEO role very, very well.
Yep.
My role is what are our new products? What products are we going to go out there with?
Yep.
What clients are we going to build? So, we're very, very different roles.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is basically he's not allowed to have an external facing because could be real problems with the business.
You mentioned the private equity deal. The founder spirit, the private side of a business. You created the business because of freedom, independence.
Yes.
That spirit of being in control and having master and commander of your own destiny. What is it like when you do get, all of a sudden private equity involved in the business? What have you found from that? I know it's a minority stake, but how has that experience been?
It was a large minority stake. It's been really, really, really good so far.
Okay.
And very positive, especially when I compare it to the experience listing.
Yeah.
We went with a company called Beaumont Capital. They built a relationship with us for a couple of years beforehand. And they've been great. The big difference that we've seen is actually from a people perspective. We've been able to bring on some phenomenal individuals into the business that I think would have been very challenging if it had just been Tim and I.
Really?
Yeah. So we've got our new chairman is the ex-chairman of KPMG, a chap called Simon Collins. We had the CTO come from The Economist, Richard Pears, who's joined us. There is a number of people now joining the senior leadership team, the exec board, that I think would have been a struggle doing so. So having Beaumont there as our partners, and they share the vision of where the business can go, has been a great partnership.
How do you pick the PE house that you go with?
Yes, we did. Yeah, we went through a process.
How? What is the?
How?
What sort of gems can you give us in terms of because that relationship is so key, and it can create businesses to be completely derailed.
Yeah, it can. Yeah.
It sounds like you're having a great experience. How do you therefore try and get that match right? Again, any gems that we can learn from that experience?
Well, we started the process in terms of where we wanted to take the business. So we're very clear of where, if it's Tim and I, where did we want to take the business, and where was that headed? We got a great advisor. So the first step was signing up an advisor and getting them to get you ready for markets and things like that.
Good reputable firm.
Yeah, it was a company called Arrowpoint. But you select your advisors, and Arrowpoint got us ready for market.
Yeah.
And then we started to meet a number of PE houses.
Yeah.
And they each bring something different. And we also spoke to a number of people in their portfolios, so the portfolio companies that were there.
So you really did due diligence on that front then?
Well, yeah, and also individuals that had exited.
Okay.
So you're probably going to get a really honest view in terms of the CEOs that had exited.
Right.
And you start building up a picture. You then obviously you go to the towards the end of the process at the offer stage, and I would strongly advise against just going for the highest offer.
Do people do that?
I would imagine so. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing is having a partner that has a shared vision of where your organisation can go, and then also, do you trust them? So everyone's on best behaviour when you're going through a process. So you're seeing everyone at their best, and you've got to have an understanding of that's everyone on best behaviour. So what happens as it does in business if it doesn't go in a linear line? And there's some of the questions we asked. We actually asked the PE houses that we started to bring to our final decision. We did ask, what do you do? How do you react in these situations? We got a really, really good understanding of those companies, and we quickly worked out kind of the few companies that we could work with.
Yeah.
And then ultimately we were lucky enough to go with Beaumont Capital.
What date did you start this business?
Well, I know that. So we registered on Companies House May the 4th, 2016.
May the 4th, good day to start any business.
Well, that's it. So obviously we have a few Star Wars
some
fans.
Star Wars.
Yeah, so that's why but we didn't really begin to trade, as in have people to work on projects within companies until January 2017.
So if we had Simon here from May the 4th.
Yeah.
And we have obviously Simon there from the 4th of August today. How would you say those two people have changed?
Well, one's become very wrinkly, with grey around the side.
You look good. You look great.
Slightly hunched. But bar aesthetics, which it's been a tough paper round. I would say that, well, I think like anyone, that there's probably quite a bit of trepidation with starting a business.
Yeah.
But an understanding, I think, there's definitely something with Kubrick in terms of the quality of people we get to work with. So I think that, for us, we are lucky enough to be able to have some absolute superstars, not just working as our consultants, but across HQ as well in the teams. And I think, I knew it before, it's a good soundbite, but people really are everything. They really do drive Kubrick, and we're lucky.
Sounds like it's the thing that excites you more than anything you're doing actually with your business.
Yeah, we've got some absolutely exceptional superstars that Kubrick wouldn't have, been what it is now without those individuals in the journey.
Yeah. So Simon, in terms of the fact that you've gone from, okay, let's take May the 4th, when it was just yourself and Tim.
Yeah.
I mean, did you start with just two of you?
It was, we had a couple of other people there as well.
Okay,
so we started with a team, and Nick, who was doing the sales, Stella was doing ops.
Still with you?
Still with us.
Really?
Yeah,
Shout out to Nick and Stella.
Yeah, absolutely.
So 4 people.
And Lawrence, God.
And Lawrence, okay, shout out to Lawrence. Anybody else?
Lawrence,
We must
no,
not
that's it.
forget
No. Lawrence, who set up all our training. And
okay,
still
so
is
5 becomes 1,005. That's okay, that works well. 1,500.
Yeah.
In terms of that culture, how have you managed to keep that? In fact, how have you managed to evolve that kind of culture and continue to the next level?
Yeah.
Because it must get challenging, right? When you've also got loads of people.
Yeah, it's interesting. People ask this question. I found it more challenging at the beginning.
Really?
Than now, because we've got more people in that own elements of it.
Yeah.
One of the things is when you're a founder of a startup, you own everything. and things gets dropped. So we have the privilege now of having a number of people that own certain aspects of the business. I mean, I suppose a good indication of that is you can probably, the website Glassdoor.
Yeah.
If you track our original Glassdoor to now, all it's done is go upwards.
Really?
And I think that's an indication really of the investment that we have in individuals. We take a lot more time and care around how people work and how we can support them. Always loads to do. It's one of these things that's I don't think you get there as a destination, do you? It's an evolving journey. But yeah, I would answer at the moment it's getting a lot easier.
Wow. That's
because we're able to invest a lot more in people, and there's more people that own those aspects.
That's really interesting, because you do hear the opposite of that, which is gets harder. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, not for us.
That you put on that.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's because we were in charge of it right at the beginning and we're really useless. That could be it.
Simon, you're awesome.
Thank you very much.
I love meeting you.
Thank you.
Huge congratulations on what you and Tim are doing, and your team, who you seem a massive part of this journey with you, which is so exciting. This is what I love about founders. Have an idea and then all of a sudden got a whole tribe, a whole family behind them, which is just wonderful. But very proud to have you in the Growth 100. We wish you all the very best and look forward to reading about loads more to come from this great company.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Cheers.